Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
For 9 decades, there have been plans to connect Long Island and Connecticut, with the earliest idea dating back to the 1930s. It has sparked debate from cost to convenience. Thank you so much for joining us on the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Annette Montgomery. Well, now a Connecticut developer says the time might finally be right to make it happen. Our Nick Bradshaw has the latest on the push for this project and why it's once again stirring conversation.
So I'm here in Bridgeport. I want to get to Long Island. How long could that possibly take?
To Long Island.
2 hours by ferry, a couple of hours by car, maybe even 3 hours. They want to bridge that gap between here and Long Island.
On a breezy fall day in Bridgeport, some are talking about a quicker way to get to New York. No matter your mode of transportation, the drive can be brutal.
It's bad.
With many complaints about I-95 turning into a parking lot. So some say it's easier to stay put in Connecticut.
Because I like to go down there and shop. I don't do that anymore.
That's why the idea of a shortcut keeps coming back. A bridge from here in Bridgeport to Long Island.
It's a good idea, actually.
Some jump for joy at the idea of a shorter drive time. And even though it could be a toll bridge, the goal is for a faster drive to the Empire State.
It's much better to drive over there than catching the bus. Got to wait for the boat and all that. So
a Connecticut developer is the one pushing the idea forward. He says a 14-mile bridge from Bridgeport to Long Island could be a game changer. But some are worried about the cost, chaos, and the potential effects on the water and wildlife. Others say they're sold on the promise of jobs and faster travel.
And it may give people opportunity to have a work in between Connecticut and Long Island. They probably get more jobs.
So many opinions, but one thing everyone agrees on. The debate over the bridge isn't going anywhere.
No matter what direction you take, it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. Plus, it'll take them time to build that bridge. And of course, they've been talking about this for a while. So will it go through? Will it happen? Well, that's something where only time will tell. In Bridgeport, Nick Bradshaw, Fox 61.
Thank you, Nick. Well, tonight at 6, we're following breaking news out of New Britain, where right now 4 people are recovering in the hospital after someone stabbed them. We're told this happened around 2 this afternoon on Allen Street. When officers arrived, they found 4 adults stabbed. Now, we know all of those victims were rushed to nearby hospitals with varying injuries. The suspect was still on scene and officers arrested them. Police say this was an isolated incident. Right now, we have a crew at the scene gathering the latest details, and we'll have a live report in the next 30 minutes. Well, now to Waterbury Superior Court. Today, the woman accused of imprisoning and torturing her stepson for more than 2 decades faced a judge for the first time since March. And tonight, one of the provisions of her protective order is no more. Kimberly Sullivan was arrested in March after a fire at her home where her emaciated stepson was discovered. She appeared before a judge today for a pretrial hearing. Fox 61's Alicia Hercules was there and joins us live now outside the courtroom. Alicia, the prosecution and defense both had requests for the judge.
Annette, today's hearing focused on 3 motions, 2 from the defense and 1 from the state. The big takeaway, Sullivan is now allowed back in the home where police say she held her stepson captive. Kimberly Sullivan was back in a Waterbury courtroom for the first time since March. She faces several charges, including assault and kidnapping. Her attorney, Giannis Kaloidis, filed 2 motions. One of them calls for a change to the protective order against her. That order lists Sullivan's stepson as having the same address as Sullivan, so she was not allowed to return there to collect her things. The judge approved the request. The other motion calls for Sullivan's GPS monitor to be removed. Kaloidis says she's had several issues with the device and called it an inconvenience.
we don't think there's any need for that bracelet to be on. There's no need to track her movements. There's no threat to the public or anyone.
The motion was continued until Sullivan's next court appearance. Her attorney says he is confident the motion will be granted. Meanwhile, the state filed a motion to block the defense from accessing the medical records, address, and name of Sullivan's stepson. Sullivan's attorney filed an objection to that.
He's making these allegations. He's going to have to take that stand. He's going to be cross-examined. There's no hiding.
Koloidis believes there's no reason to shield the accuser's identity.
My client has a right to confrontation, has a right to confront her accuser in a public setting. If her accuser wants to hide and be anonymous, well, that's not how this works.
The judge also continued that motion. Sullivan was arrested in March after a fire at her home. First responders discovered her 32-year-old stepson, who weighed only 68 pounds at the time. The stepson said he started the fire to gain his freedom. He detailed years of abuse inside that home going back to when he was 11 years old. Koloidis says the allegations have turned Sullivan's life upside down.
She's done nothing wrong, and the evidence against her is lacking, to say the least. Okay, it's based on one person's allegations, and the more we dig in, the less credible they are.
Sullivan's attorney says they have every intention to fight these allegations and are prepared to take this case to trial. Sullivan is expected back in court on October 31st. Live in Waterbury, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Well, how much water do you use? That's the question. Connecticut Water is now posing to 6 towns today after issuing a conservation request. The company issued those requests today for homes and businesses in Clinton, Guilford, Madison, Old Saybrook, Plymouth, and Westbrook. They say it comes after abnormally dry conditions and low rain forecast levels. Officials say using water wisely will ensure available supply for public health and fire protection. They say especially during brush fire season, the request is in effect until further notice. A lawsuit has now been filed against Trinity Health, claiming a patient got a brain injury after St. Francis Hospital waited too long to treat her for a heart problem. The lawsuit alleges a patient was left waiting in the hospital's emergency department with chest pains for about 6 hours. Even after some cardiac tests came back as abnormal, the lawsuit claims the patient then went into cardiac arrest and was resuscitated, but was left with a brain injury and now has cognitive impairment and recurring seizures. We have reached out to Trinity Health for comment, but have not heard back yet. And in other health news, UConn Health says it will submit a bid to purchase Waterbury Hospital next week. The group's board of directors, finance corporation board, and board of trustees all approved that deal today. Right now, Prospect Medical Holdings owns Waterbury Hospital and 2 others in the state, but the company filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. UConn Health says this investment will preserve access to health care in the Waterbury region and meet its growth needs. Connecticut, along with 19 other states, has now filed a second lawsuit against the Department of Justice. They're looking to block the department's legal services condition that restricts resources for undocumented immigrants. Those legal services support survivors of domestic violence and other violent crimes. The lawsuit argues the new rule is unconstitutional and threatens critical public safety as well as victim support services. Tong's office says the administration's actions threaten $14.5 million in funding to Connecticut alone. The new condition is set to take effect at the end of this month. Well, a Waterbury man is now awaiting sentencing after a jury convicted him of sexual assault earlier today. 43-year-old Derek Clark was found guilty for sexually assaulting a person in Coventry back in 2020. Prosecutors say DNA evidence and witness testimony linked him to the crime. Clark was already on probation for other charges at the time of this assault. Right now, he is being held on bond with his sentencing set for December 5th. In Bloomfield, nearly 240 union members at Cummins Jacobs Vehicle Systems are now on strike. It started more than 6 hours ago at noon today. The members of United Auto Workers 379 said Cummins hasn't made any substantial progress negotiating with them after over a dozen bargaining sessions. The workers said they want better pay, more sick time, and better job security and benefits. On top of that, the workers claim Cummins has engaged in unfair labor practices like changing contracts, retaliating against employees, and making bad faith bargains.
As you can see, we're all passionate. I mean, this is our livelihood. This is what we live off of. You know, we want to put in our 40 hours and enjoy our time like everybody else.
And the union said over 98% of its members voted to authorize the strike last month. In the last few minutes, we did receive a statement from Cummins Jacobs. A spokesperson says the company has been and continues to engage in good faith negotiations with union representatives. They go on to say the company remains committed to exploring all available options to reach a mutually acceptable agreement, and it's working to schedule another meeting with union members. Well, right now the day is here. We're talking about deployment day for hundreds of Connecticut National Guard troops. They're shipping out to the Middle East to support security efforts in that region. But before they left the state, they received a send-off from the governor and other state leaders at Bradley Air National Guard Base. Fox 61's Joe Monty was there and caught it all.
On Friday morning, Governor Ned Lamont and other officials met with more than 200 National Guard troops before their deployment to the Middle East.
You represent the very best of America. Thank you. I know what you mean for the state. You were there during Ian, the terrible electric outage and the flooding and COVID, and now you're going around the world to keep us safe.
Troops from the 1st Battalion with the 102nd Infantry Regiment arrived in full gear at the Bradley Air National Guard Base in East Granby, where they waited to be deployed. They'll be stationed in places like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Jordan, and other locations for nearly a year. Major General Fran Ivan talked a little bit about what the plans for the troops are.
They're going to do some base defense. They'll do a lot of security. When we talk about counter UAS, they'll do some work in that area as well.
UAS stands for Unmanned Aircraft Systems, like drones and other military surveillance and attack equipment. The deployment is happening in the midst of a federal government shutdown. Governor Lamont spoke briefly about that.
You get paid in arrears, but sometime middle of October, it could be jump ball. But I can tell you we're doing everything we can to make sure they get paid.
Troops got to talk with the governor and shake his hand. They also got the opportunity to talk with other state leaders. The troops head to Texas first to train for the next couple of weeks. Then they're off to the Middle East. Major General Ivan has been with this group for 25 years, since his deployment to Afghanistan. He watched and led the group while they served Connecticut communities in times of disaster. He had one final message for the troops as they get ready to defend America abroad.
Stay focused on your mission, and do great work. Make Connecticut proud.
These troops are supporting Operation Spartan Shield, which was designed to strengthen American alliances in the Middle East and Southwest Asian countries. Governor Lamont says the state and the country owes these troops a great deal of gratitude. At Bradley Air National Guard Base in East Granby, Joe Monty, Fox 61.